Tang Sanzang. The living elixir of immortality. The 81 calamities, the first, second, third, and fourth calamities. Protagonist, Tang Sanzang. Special abilities, no martial arts or spells, powerless and without any weapons. Characteristics, unwavering, he won't rest until the scriptures are obtained. Weaknesses, an elixir of immortality, he attracts demons and often mistakes them for good, misunderstanding Sun Wukong. When it comes to Tang Sanzang's journey to retrieve the scriptures, people commonly know that he faced 81 trials. And when thinking of these 81 trials, most people recall the various demons and monsters encountered along the way. So, what is the first trial among these 81 trials? The story is quite lengthy and starts with Tang Sanzang's previous life as Jin Chanzi. A driven cicada. The Buddha, known as Siddhartha, is the founding master of Buddhism. He often taught his followers in a garden called Deer Park. This deer park is located about 10 kilometers north of Varanasi in the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh today, and is regarded as one of the 4 major sacred sites of Buddhism. It is said that in Deer Park, on a large tree, there was a golden cicada. This cicada would often perch on the tree and listen to the Buddha's teachings. Over time, it developed a spiritual awareness and eventually transformed into a human form. The Buddha, who teaches all without discrimination, accepted this golden cicada as a disciple and named him Jin Chanzi. When Jin Chanzi was still an insect, he was quite diligent and motivated. However, after becoming the Buddha's disciple, he grew complacent. One day, while the Buddha was teaching his disciples, everyone was listening attentively, except for Jin Chanzi, who dozed off during the lesson. Instead of throwing a chalk piece at him, the Buddha directly banished him to the mortal realm. Thus, Jin Chanzi was transformed from an immortal into a mere mortal, so remember, always pay attention in class. Jin Chanzi was in fact the previous incarnation of Tang Sanzang, and his banishment to the mortal realm was the very first of the 81 trials in Tang Sanzang's journey to retrieve the scriptures, the banishment of Jin Chanzi. After Jin Chanzi was banished to the mortal realm, he was reincarnated into a family of the Tang dynasty with the surname Chen. His father, Chen Guangrui, was a top scholar, and his mother, Yin Wenjiao, was the daughter of a prime minister. After Chen Guangrui achieved the top scholar title, the emperor appointed him to an official position in Jiangzhou, which is today's Zhejiang in Jiangxi province. Chen Guangrui set out from the Tang dynasty's capital, Chang'an, now known as Xi'an, on a journey to Jiangxi. In those days, without airplanes or cars, he had to rely on horse-drawn carriages and sailboats, a journey that would take about a month to complete. As the saying goes, the longer the journey, the greater the risk of trouble. Midway through their journey, Chen Guangrui's family encountered a bandit named Lu Hong. Lu Hong killed Chen Guangrui, put on his clothes and impersonated him to assume the official position. He then forced Yin Wenjiao to pretend to be his wife. At the time, Yin Wenjiao was pregnant, and to protect the life of her unborn child, she had no choice but to comply with Lu Hong. After some time, Yin Wenjiao gave birth to her child, who was the reincarnation of the golden cicada. When Lu Hong saw that Yin Wenjiao had given birth to Chen Guangrui's child, he feared that the child would grow up to seek revenge for his father. He ordered Yin Wenjiao to throw the baby into the river to drown him. Yin Wenjiao replied, "It's too late today, let's do it tomorrow." The next day, Lu Hong received notice that he had to go on a trip out of town, and thus the child was temporarily safe. Thus, as soon as Tang Sanzang was born, he narrowly escaped death, marking the second trial he encountered, the perilous birth, which means that he was almost killed right after being born. The infant Tang Sanzang narrowly escaped death at the hands of Lu Hong, saved only by Lu Hong's sudden trip out of town. However, his mother Yin Wenjiao thought, "Lu Hong will return eventually, and when he does, my child will surely die. It would be better to bind him to a wooden plank and set him adrift on the river, leaving it to fate. Perhaps someone might rescue and adopt him." With this in mind, Yin Wenjiao wrote a letter explaining the child's true background. She then wrapped the baby along with some personal belongings, placed him on a small wooden plank, and set him afloat on the great river, watching helplessly as her 1-month-old baby disappeared into the waves. This was the third trial Tang Sanzang faced, thrown into the river just after turning 1 month old. Zhang Luer's revenge. Just 1 month after Tang Sanzang was born, he was set adrift on the great river floating downstream. As the reincarnation of the golden cicada, who had a deep connection with Buddhism, the infant eventually drifted to the shores of Jinshan Temple. The monk Feiming found the baby and the letter that had drifted along with him, revealing the tragic story of his origins. He thought, although I know the child's mother, he cannot be sent back, he would surely be in danger. It would be better to adopt him into the temple. Thus, just 1 month after his birth, the infant Tang Sanzang was taken in by the temple. Monk Feiming gave him the nickname Zhang Luer, meaning the baby who drifts down the river. Unknowingly, 18 years passed and Zhang Luer grew up. Raised in the temple, he had read many scriptures and naturally became a monk after reaching adulthood, taking the Dharma name Xuanzang. The monks in the temple often gathered to discuss scriptures and meditation, and Xuanzang, who had studied the texts from a young age, was unmatched in his knowledge. Once, a monk who indulged in wine and meat debated Buddhist teachings with Xuanzang. Unable to compete, the wine-drinking monk, desperate to save face, angrily said, "You don't even know your own name or who your parents are, what is there left to discuss?" Xuanzang, deeply hurt by the monk's words, went to his master Monk Feiming in tears and said, "Master, everyone has parents, but I don't know who mine are. Please tell me." Seeing that Xuanzang had grown up and deserved to know the truth, Feiming handed him the letter from Xuanzang's mother, Yin Wenjiao, from years ago. Upon learning that his father was Chen Guangrui, who had been killed by the villain Lu Hong, and that Lu Hong had taken his father's position and his mother, Xuanzang got agitated out of anger. Despite his Buddhist training, which should have brought him inner peace, he could not help but feel intense emotion. He decided to seek out his mother and avenge his father. Following the address in his mother's letter, Xuanzang soon found her. They embraced and wept together. Then his mother said, "If you want to seek revenge, go to your maternal grandfather. Tell him the whole story. He is the current prime minister and will surely have a way to help." Over the years, his mother had been held captive by Lu Hong and had never been able to see her own father. Following his mother's advice, Xuanzang went to the capital to find his maternal grandfather, the prime minister. After locating him, Xuanzang explained the events of 18 years ago, including Lu Hong's murder of his father and abduction of his mother. After learning the full story, the prime minister reported the matter to Emperor Li Shimin. Furiously, the emperor dispatched 60,000 troops to Jiangzhou, captured Lu Hong, and sentenced him to death. This was the fourth trial Xuanzang faced, the search for kin and revenge. After avenging his parents, Xuanzang continued as a monk, and soon became the most renowned monk in the Tang dynasty. At that time, people in the Tang dynasty practiced Theravada Buddhism. Emperor Li Shimin knew that in the distant land of India, at the Great Thunderclap Temple in the country of the Great Western Heaven, there was a more advanced form of Mahayana Buddhism. He therefore sent Xuanzang to India to retrieve these scriptures. In fact, Xuanzang's journey to India to retrieve the scriptures was foreseen by the Buddha. Before Xuanzang departed, the Buddha sent him 2 treasures via Guanyin, a precious cassock and a 9-ringed staff, which served as identification tokens for the journey. With these treasures in hand, Xuanzang mounted a white horse, accompanied by a few disciples, and embarked on the long journey to the west. Despite having faced 4 major trials before setting out, he could not have anticipated the even greater dangers that awaited him on the road to India.